All right, I think we are going.
Yep.
All right, let's go. 3, 2, and 1. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Persuasion by the Pint. I'm Jonathan Taylor, along with
Sean McCool.
That was kind of a lame intro. I don't know. It's the same one. Maybe we should come up with something different.
Maybe. You need one of those fancy, like bumper reel, like all the sound effects, all that stuff.
Yeah. Who can we hire for that?
I don't know. There's got to be somebody on Fiverr. Probably an AI that does podcast bumpers at this point. I don't know.
I believe there is.
Yeah, we'll have to check that out.
There should be.
We can load that up in your little sound machine there.
Yeah. Yeah, just play it. Just play it while we just kick back and just wait for the introduction. We give everyone else an intro, but we don't have our own introducer.
Yeah, we'll have to work on that. I mean, it's been 4 years. Maybe we should work on that.
That's right. That's right. Well, today we got a random flight. We're right before 4th of July weekend. We have no guests, but we've got a great topic today. We're going to be discussing a new book out by Joshua Lisec. It is called, and I got my copy in today. I actually got it on Kindle. I was reading the Kindle, and you got your copy. So good, they call you fake.
Hold on, hold yours up a little bit longer. I want to get a screenshot of this.
Here, let me hold it with this hand. There we go.
All right, got it.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about this. He's interesting book. Subtitle is Command Attention, Monetize Your Talent Stack, and Become the Uncontested Authority in Your Niche. He's got some great advice. I've followed Joshua. I've probably been following him, Sean, for the last year. I don't know about yourself, but I got on his list of, he's got a membership group called So Good. Or what is it called? All of this stuff. He's really brilliant in this sense that everything is kind of follows a title of.
Yeah. Did we talk about his books, The Best Way to?
Yeah, the best way to
say it. The best way to say it, I think, is the series.
Yep.
Yeah. So
the best way to say it. Then
I didn't realize that was him.
Yeah, the best way to say it. And then he's got a newsletter that I subscribe to. Is called The Best Way to Write It newsletter, and then The Best Way to Publish It. I mean, he's got all these. He plays off all that title very well. But yeah, he follows. I think he works with Scott Adams a lot, doing some stuff with him. I don't know if he's ghostwritten, some of Scott Adams stuff, but Joshua's kind of a known ghostwriter. He's written several.
Yeah, he mentions in the book that he did. I think he did mention in the book that he did a book for Scott. So I hadn't gotten that far in the book yet. I'm about halfway through. Yeah, it's pretty good. So we'll dive into some of that. I've got some random bits that we can talk about today, including the 60-60 rule, which is kind of a new one I had not heard.
Ooh, the 60-60 rule. That's
Well, anytime you put a name to something, it's going to sound cool, right? And then I found a 50-year-old study that talks about 2 different types of presentations and which persuades better.
Okay.
And then a little curiosity about email versus face-to-face. So we'll hit on those if we run out of stuff to talk about from Joshua's book. But yeah, some interesting little tidbits I just kind of looked up and found.
Email versus face-to-face. That's an easy one for me, being having a sales background. It's just no brainer.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see what the stats say, and then we'll see what you say, and we'll see which. And you may have to adjust your tactics. I don't know. We'll find out.
I may have to. I may be doing it completely wrong. I'm old school.
Well, before we get into that, let's talk about some beverages. What you got over there? And I mean, we got another scorcher today in Austin. So we're finally dipping below 100. I think this weekend for the first time in like 2 weeks.
Yep.
So I've got the summer beers in full effect.
Oh, good. Well, yeah, you gotta. I think you and I both are kind of getting away from the. As we get into the dog days, we're not into stouts and porters as much, so we're trying to find good beers that are a little lighter and refreshing. So I'll start with one, and I picked this up. I was actually in Kentucky this week, traveling, and stopped in at you just actually picked this up from a gas station, which, in Kentucky, if you want to find the Kentucky, the Bourbon Barrel series, or the guys from Lexington Brewing Company, it's everywhere. So you can just go into your local Stop and Stab and find a 6-pack of a good Kentucky red ale. It's an Irish ale. So this is a new one that I haven't had.
Nice.
And this is,
by the way, did you call it a Stop and Stab? I just I can't just let that go by for our listeners, because they're all like, did I hear that right?
That's right. It's local Stop and Stab.
Okay. You're in the wrong part of town, my friend. I guess you do. You're in the industrial part of town, right? So.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Sometimes when you go to these manufacturing plants, they're not in the best areas because they're, they've been around for ages. And so, sometimes
wants to live next to a chemical manufacturing plant.
So sometimes they're in the downtown area, or sometimes they're out in the boonies, out in the middle of nowhere. So I kind of characterize.
That's where they put the key on the 204, right, for the bathroom.
That's right, exactly. Yeah, big old wooden 2x4 that says bathroom, and then you got to walk out back.
Yeah.
Okay. But anyway. I'm excited. I haven't when I saw Irish Red, like an Irish Red ale, I was excited because I've never seen a Kentucky or a Lexington, brewing company series that was an Irish Red ale. So this is a first, I do believe, unless I'm missing something and I've had it by accident in the past. I don't remember.
I don't remember it. No. So what do
you got?
I've got a Shiner. So I bought a summer pack of Shiner. So I've got the Shiner O'Reilly. It's a Mexican style cerveza.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea how to pronounce O'Reilly.
Or is that I-O? I-O?
I think it's I don't know if that's
like an O with it's got the little
no, that's the upside down punctuation mark. Remember, it's Spanish. So
that's right.
They put their exclamation marks on both ends, and one's upside down.
That's right.
So you know what you're about to read, so you can get excited early. Or in English language, you got to wait till the end to decide if you're going to ask a question. I mean, it's pretty smart, actually, right?
Yeah, it is.
We should do that in English.
No, we should.
Some of these long sentences, you get to the end and you realize it's a question. You're like, oh, crap.
Dang.
Got to change my whole intonation. Yeah, so this is, it's got a cool little dancing tiger on it.
Yeah.
And I don't know what this creature is. Maybe
it looks like, oh man, that's weird.
Like a jaguar, probably, or something.
A jaguar. Yes.
Yeah. So this is super light, as a cerveza usually is. It's only 4.5% alcohol. It is see-through for the most part.
Oh wow! Look at that.
This is even. I mean, it's like a lager looking.
This one's mine. Look how red. Look at that pretty red. It's not. It's nice. Actually redder than what it shows on the screen because the brightness. I don't like the camera today, but it looks beautiful.
Let's cheers it up and then get my
cheers. Rating. I don't even know what my ABV. I can't even see it on the. Yeah, I don't even know. Who cares, right?
Not our listeners, as they've told us.
There we go.
Juvenile beer talk. We haven't smoked that in a while.
That's right. Juvenile beer talk. Yeah, it doesn't say.
I'm going to give mine a rating. I'm going to give
5.3. I got a 5.3. That's pretty low for
for an aged. Is it aged or is it just the same?
No, it's not aged. So it's
okay. Just a red ale. I'm going to give mine a 3.5. Like, it's not bad, but I'm just not a lager cerveza guy,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's just not a lot of flavor. When you're used to graham cracker banana split, like, it's just hard to get a lot of flavor out of a beer like this.
3.5.
Yeah, 3.5. What do you got?
Oh, this is delicious, man. I'm gonna go 4.6. Solid, very solid.
All right. I like it.
Excellent.
It is good.
It's very refreshing. It's perfect beer for summer because you get your you don't get the sissy beer, but you get that red ale, which I don't know, it just hits the spot. Great aftertaste.
I like it.
Refreshing on a hot summer day where it's about 150 degrees in your neck of the woods.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Oh, also, I want to remind me, we'll talk about a little AI tool that I found today.
Okay.
So I can do that now, or we can do it later.
Well, let's start with that.
All right. So we'll jump into that. And the reason it came to mind is
it might be a good lead in for the topic, because you talk about, using tools and things like that to.
Yeah. So
on this book.
Yeah, somebody at one of my clients, we have a channel in Slack where everybody's throwing in the AI tools they're trying out. So one of the things they mentioned was this thing called Opus Clip.
Okay.
OPUS Clip. And
Opus Clip.
It's clip.opus.pro is the actual website. What it is, you can drop a video like what we're doing here. I actually took our last episode. And I put it in there. You could just take the YouTube link, drop it in there, and it will automatically find 12 clips with captions that it thinks are the best, most intriguing clips.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so I tested it. Yeah. And it nailed it from our last episode.
Wow.
And it even scores them from best out of it's got like a scoring system. So 100 all the way down. So it puts them in order of what it thinks are the best because of hooks and interest and things like that. So in fact, let me
which you're perfect for like Instagram reels and things like that you're not.
They're all under a minute.
Yeah.
And the thing is, this is cool because it's free to sign up and try, and they give you 2 hours worth of video that they'll cut up. So and you can actually trim the video too. So what I did is I took out our juvenile beer talk and started at like 8 minutes.
Yeah.
So it was only like 42 minutes of content. So it charged me for 42 minutes, and they give you 2 hours when you start for free and no credit card required.
Wow.
It's pretty cool. So,
so after that 2 hours, because
then it's like $19.
Is it 2 hours worth of clips or 2 hours that you give it?
2 hours that you give it. So it gave back 12 clips that were under 60 seconds.
Let's see.
Which is not bad because
and
then you get 200 minutes for like $19 a month, which is less than you'd pay a VA to do the same thing.
Absolutely. That's great.
So yeah, the only thing I didn't like is that you can't actually you can download the clips, but like I can't share them with you on my account so that you can see them and tell me which one you like best. I'd have to download them all for you to see them. So that I don't really like. I guess you could do a shared account or something, have a company password or something like that.
Where does the website again?
Clip.opus.pro.
Clip.opus.pro.
Yep. So let me see if I can. Let me just.
Is this it?
Are you pulling it up?
Clip.opus.
Yep.
.pro. All right. That's an interesting website. There we go.
Yeah, so here's the one I did. So I took our 230-year-old hack of the whole. Is this 230-year-old hack, the Holy Grail of marketing? And you can see here it took a clip.
Okay.
And it gave it a 99 score. It told you why it picked the clip.
Yep.
And then you can play the clip over here where you can just play it. And it automatically puts the captions on it. Features the speaker, so when you come on, it'll let you speak. It shows you. It clips it, takes out the fluff.
That's awesome.
And then so it showed some of us double, but I thought the score was cool. So it kind of puts them in order. So yeah,
very cool, man.
And it took. So I dropped the link in. It took 12 minutes, and they'll email you when they're done. You only have to stay on the site.
I love that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then there's Podium that I think I told you about, but I don't think.
Oh yeah, actually, I checked that out myself.
So Podium will do show notes in the same exact method. You just drop the link in, and it will prepare your show notes for your website. It's pretty crazy.
Too great, yeah. And we'll post a link on the show page on these.
So literally for $40 a month between the two of those,
you got your
you have your entire like podcast editor.
Yeah. All the back end stuff is taken care of. Now, yeah. I mean, you haven't edited it per se, but you've taken out the most important pieces from that video.
Right. That you can now share on social and,
yeah.
And, which, we're not doing that. So this is, it's kind of a cool tool because it's a hassle.
Well, that's why we didn't. I mean, that's why we weren't, because it's like takes too much time and energy. But I mean, with a tool like that, you can just throw it in there.
Yeah. Or money, because you got to hire somebody to do it,
That's right. That's right.
So yeah, that's good. So anyway, I thought that's our little AI tip of the day.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's jump into Joshua's book. So good.
Maybe our listeners will drop us a tip for that tip.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. They will call you a fake. That's a very provocative title.
Yep.
So tell me, have you gotten to the part where he explains why he picked that title?
Yeah. I think the main point is, you're always gonna, he says, like on the intro of his book, people are gonna, like, you have to kind of own something, and people are going to call you out regardless. I think about, I was sharing, I think I sent you a link on the Liquid Death guys that are using all their hate comments now to, they're creating music albums out of it, which is just, to me, is hilarious.
They're having fun over there. That's for sure.
And some of them are just are so funny, but they're getting mileage out of all their hate comments. And they're turning those, and they're using 80s music. So it's a lot of fun. So it's driving traffic. And so, stuff like that, everybody's going to get some complaints or be called out. You don't know what you're doing. How are you an expert and all this stuff, you just roll with the punches. But, he says, people are, the higher you move up in any niche, people are going to call you out. And that's just, to me, or to him, he says, that is a sign, if you're moving up in your field or niche or whatever, whatever you're known for, your expertise, as you move up, people are inevitably going to call you out. I mean, it just comes with the territory.
If your results are not just good.
Yeah.
He makes this point, and I underlined this. This like really hit me. He said, if your results are believable, they're invisible.
Yeah. That's right.
That's a big statement. Like,
oh yeah. Yeah.
Like, you would think that's not true, but as soon as I read it, I was like, ooh, yeah, that makes sense. Like that.
Yeah.
That makes sense today.
You have to be supernatural, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. To the point where like, nah, there's no way.
Yeah. He said the bar of entry has never been lower. The bar of attention never higher.
Yeah.
And his point in this, he even talks about like Cal Newport's book, right? Which I think was Be So Good They Can't Ignore You.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's not good enough anymore. Like that's 10 years old. That's not good enough anymore. Like it actually needs to look like magic so that people doubt that it's real.
Yeah.
That's the way you get attention. Like your system, and we'll get into systems, but your system for producing results has to be so good, so reliable that people will begin to say, there's no way, can't be, it's not true, you're a fake.
Yeah.
That's a powerful concept to think about and wrap your head around. And it is a pretty high bar. But luckily, if you buy his book, he tells you exactly how to do it.
Of course.
Isn't that weird?
And a lot of it is just obviously everybody knows this. I mean, Joshua, as we mentioned, he's a ghostwriter. He writes, he's a copywriter. And he's worked with guys like Scott Adams, who I've followed, and we've talked about some of his stuff. They actually talk. His message is similar to what Scott Adams talks about in his book, How to Fail at Almost Anything and Still win big, or what, I forgot the exact title, but it's something to that degree. But, in the book, he talks about your talent stack, how you get really good at something. It's like, don't have goals. Goals don't work. You gotta have systems in place. It's people that have goals usually don't accomplish, those goals, because it's just, people give up. But a system, people can do that, right? People can adopt a system, a strategy, and they can also adopt a talent stack, around that system. So you put one talent stack in place, and then another talent stack, and then another talent stack. You learn how to be, a writer. Sean, like yourself, you'd be a copywriter. That's one of your talent stacks.
Right.
You're a coach. That's another talent stack.
And
so
I think
you have
a lot
the ability
of times
to listen to people. You've had experience in sales, another talent stack. I mean, one after the other.
And I think that's, we're often told, especially in this kind of, internet marketing culture, bro marketing culture, that you got a niche, you got to be special. You got to be an email specialist that works with, geriatric moms who started a knitting email list, right?
Exactly.
That's the only people you can write for, because you're going to be the world's best at that.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's just, you could do that, but it should become out of the fact that you yourself are probably a world-class knitter. You're really good at writing, whatever the talent stack that might have led to that. Instead of going looking for that niche.
That's right.
Kind of be the niche.
Be the niche.
Look, I'm a great writer. I'm good at sales. And you add up all your stuff, and you just say,
I think the best experts come from a background of experience within, like, I've told my story time and time again, like how my or it feels like time and time again, but my story of trying to do niches back in the day, marketing niches, and one was, one of those niches was in the veterinarian industry for marketing, which to me was, it got, clients and things like that, but it's like it was like a fish out of water. I didn't know anything about that industry, and I was simply doing a lot of research outside of that industry. Ultimately, it didn't fit me because I didn't, it wasn't something I was a part of, and I spent time in.
Yeah.
So to me, that's a very poor way, is to do research around a market and just say, you know what, I'm going to own that market. I was like, that's a bad way. That's a bad way. You start with, in your own backyard, who have you worked with, or what your experience is, and capitalize on that, something that you're familiar with and you already know.
Yeah. Yeah. And be able to, like you said, be able to stack those skills together and then create a system. Yeah. I love you said it earlier, but I had that highlighted as well. It said, systems beat goals. The difference between wanting something and deciding that something will happen. Goal is a want, system is decided.
Right.
So that's, and then he actually defines system as a series of repeatable steps that, when followed, produce the same results.
Right. Absolutely. And that's important to any creating content, which is, a big part of this book is about, how to create your information, or how to build, your information products or training or coaching or whatever around who you are. Well, it's, in order to build that, it takes a system, right? It takes a process and a system. And if you don't have that, it's never going to get done. You're going to be talking about, I'm creating this program. You can be talking about it for 5 years and you never do it. But until you have a system by which you're able to get that content out, and you have to be honest with yourself. If you don't like to write, if you don't like to sit down on the computer and type out things and write things out, then you better have another system. You better be able to record it. You better be doing podcast, which I do.
Yeah. Or have a system for project management that you can hire people.
Exactly.
Or maybe you're a world-class hiring person, right?
That's right.
Because people are world-class at hiring A players, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's their system for building a business.
Absolutely. Surround yourself with people that will do it and can do it. And fill in the parts, because everybody has their weaknesses. You can't be everything. So the strength in that is recognizing what you can and can't do, and then putting the people in place who can do it. Or as we were just talking about, Sean, having AI systems in place that can do these things for you as we explore more, AI software and things that open up so many possibilities, for doing things on the cheap, so.
Yeah. And it's pretty amazing. That's one thing I've been it's kind of a hobby right now, but it's with the means to an end is I'm really taking all these different AI tools and like, okay, if I wanted to create this end result over here, what suite of tools would I need to reduce my labor and increase quantity? That was another thing he said here. I remember the thing he said about quantity versus quality.
Yes. Yeah.
The old saying was, good, fast, and cheap. Pick any two.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's not enough anymore. Like, you got to have all three now with AI. Like, yeah, you got to have all three. I don't know where that was, but he talked. I mean, that was a really great point. Like, yeah, actually, you can have all three now.
Yeah,
that is now a Boomer and Gen X saying that is no longer true.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm looking at all these different ways. Like, you got people out there that are like Zapier experts, right? They can zap anything together, a series of zaps from different tools.
Yeah.
And they automate their flow. You got people that can do that with, macros and stuff in Word docs or Google Docs. It's like, there's some stuff some people can do with a Google Doc is mind blowing.
It is.
Like, I just write on it, type on it. And then, it's like doing stuff itself. Now you throw in,
it's like Excel. I mean, it's like some of the things that people do with Excel, it just blows your mind.
Yeah. It's
like,
crazy.
How'd you create a spreadsheet like that?
Yeah. And that's a system. And you can actually, now you integrate AI and Zapier and all these things. I mean, you could have a spreadsheet just run itself basically. So
speaking of which, I found an AI software this week that creates spreadsheets for you. Used to, I would hire people out to do spreadsheets just because to me it's monotonous and I don't want to learn everything there is. I know the basics of Excel, but if I need something detailed, I would send over a bunch of information, hire somebody on Fiverr and say, create a spreadsheet for me.
Yeah.
Now I come to find this week, like we were talking AI earlier.
Yep.
There's an AI software. Now you just plug your information in and it creates a spreadsheet around it. It's incredible. So
you can create systems out of just about anything. What's the big point of this book, and I think it's definitely worth reading. If you're especially if you're, or really anything. I mean, some of the examples he gives will open your eyes to as what's possible. Like, he talks about in the book, there's a guy that he did he wrote a book for, who is a consultant to the construction industry. And the guy's never been in construction, but he's got a system for people that allows construction companies, because what's the biggest pain in construction, if you've ever worked it, is people. It's kind of like fast food.
Yep.
Like, it's tough to find workers. It's tough to get them to show up. Nobody likes the work. It's
right.
It's hot, it's cold. Like, construction sucks for, most people. So
it does.
It's hard to keep people. It's hard to motivate people. So he's all about how you manage and grow the people. And that's how he became an expert in the construction industry, but there was a system of how he works with people that they wrote the book about. What was it called? I think Construction Genius was the name of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a construction owner reads that and he's like, oh, I want this guy to come teach me and my people this.
Yep.
And that's what it's about. Like, so your system could be just about anything. And you just have to look at what you're good at and what your talent stack is and apply it to this system that he talks about.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a big takeaway, and like you touched on, Sean, is a book, because obviously Joshua's a writer and he does a lot of ghostwriting for a lot of his clients. Obviously, I'm sure this is a little bit of a marketing front end for some of the work that he does, but it's still good because I think the premise is, if you want to get your expertise out, even today, it starts with a book. But you can't just write a book. You've got to write a book. I think one of the biggest takeaways, on his lessons in writing a book, Sean, is that you need to write a book in a way, because what do most people finish a book?
Nope.
They do not.
The way he sets up the book is just it's a system, right? I mean, the way he writes a book is a system, and it's a very specific layout, chapter by chapter by chapter. So there's a lot of people who've been saying write a book to build your business, but no, I haven't read anybody that gets this detailed.
Into how to structure it,
about what each chapter should cover.
Exactly.
So if you ever wanted to write a book, or even if you have written a book, you want to write another one because the first one didn't do well or as well as you thought, I would definitely pick that book up.
So I'm going to give an example while we're in this. So we just give some takeaways. So I think this is like on page. He's worked with the doctor that he talks about in the book. The guy that says, or the surgeon that he's. The title of the book is "Stay Off My Operating Table," which actually is a pretty good.
That's a great title.
That may be the chapter title.
No, that's the book title.
Oh, okay.
But it's also, I think it was also chapter 1.
Oops. Just hit the crickets button.
Yeah, goodness.
Hey, this is good stuff. There's no crickets chirping there. So he breaks it down. He's got a part 1, part 2, and part 3 of the book. So he's talking about metabolic health. Mm-hmm. And so part 1 is really the essential part of it is he's breaks it down into 4 chapters. Stay off the operating table. 12 myths they want us to believe the system is broke, and how to measure, assess, improve your metabolic health. So all of these things, all of these opening chapters are there for a reason. And it's there to it's kind of like a sales letter. It's to get you to understand the need for the remainder of the book. It's to keep you reading.
Yeah, most people jump into the book too quick.
Yeah, exactly. And instead of laying the foundation why you actually need this, why it's so important, and scaring the hell out of you in the process.
Which we know from sales is right. If you jump too soon to the pitch and you don't build some rapport, you don't, uncover the pains or remind people of the pains, that sale is probably not going to happen. Right.
Exactly.
So, it's kind of the same thing. You're laying out why this is so important. Then you're laying out maybe the myths or the bad information out there, all those kind of things. Then you've opened them up to receiving your message in your way.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So that it's important. That first part is a foundation of why. And then the part 2 are the principles of metabolic health. And then lastly, the last part of the book, where this is a mistake, as you said, Sean, most people jump right into the how-tos. Then he lays out the how-tos. Obviously, you don't give everything out on the how-to, because there's opportunity. Your book is what? It's a business card or a tool to lead people into your coaching or your training program or whatever you have next lined up for them.
Although he does say in his book, he says, take them step by step with no steps missed.
Yeah. Yep.
So he gives them everything, but there is, at the same time, there is more available in a slightly different format.
Sure.
If you move up to a course or coaching or whatever. Right.
Yep.
So you do get all the steps.
Right.
But there is obviously some nuance not left out. There's additional nuance available if you want it, but there is enough that if all you can afford is the book, and you've got the time and the energy to put it to work yourself, there's enough there to do that. Yeah.
Plenty of good content to do it yourself. Yep. And I think that's the key takeaway. Maybe it's not so much the fact that you don't you do give everything away that you can, but you can't do everything. It's not the same as in-person coaching or training, but you give a ton away because, the perceived value there. So you get the perceived value up front from just a wealth of knowledge. And then they're just going to say, well, I can't do all this. So, or some people are going to do it themselves, right? They're going to take it up on their own and, apply this. But some people are going to say, I need to hire you or, bring you into my company and have you train my employees and, talk to my HR manager or my sales manager or whoever that your content's for. So
Yeah. So the book we've been talking about is so good they call you a fake. Command attention, monetize your talent stack, and become the uncontested authority in your niche.
Right.
Yeah, you can find it on Amazon and everywhere else fine books are sold.
Yes.
Any last minute thoughts on?
No, it's great. It actually, it's actually a good combo with another. There's another book, Sean, I was reading through this week. And I'm just going to give a little, I hate to give another book on the same podcast promotion, but there's one called See, Solve, Scale, which I recommend for anybody that's in consulting or coaching or anything like that. Its subtitle is How Anyone Can, maybe this is a follow-up podcast or that we can delve into. But the key takeaway is that it fits nicely with Joshua's book in one specific way. The subtitle of this book, How Anyone Can Turn Unsolved Problems into Breakthrough Successes. So there's a really good chapter in this book on researching your market, kind of like he did with the construction industry, talking about the, retention, employees. But there's a chapter in that's really valuable on finding unmet needs in any market spot, any marketplace. So it's really good because he talks about doing a lot of top-down research instead of traditionally, I guess, top-down research is just researching a company or a market space. Most people do that. They just kind of research the market by reading, studying, reading the trade journals, reading about, an industry, what they're going through, instead of what he calls bottom up research is, immersing yourself, asking questions and talking to people, in my line of work, that would be going into, plants and having deep conversations with, plant managers, operation managers and things like that, and finding out what their biggest pain points are and what they're struggling with, and then kind of going deep on that. Yep. Instead of just assuming this is what everybody is dealing with, having those conversations. So
I just pulled this book up on the old Amazon.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, maybe Joshua wrote this book. Because, you look at it's got the same 3-part structure.
Yeah, it could have.
Yeah, part 1, part 2,
yeah,
and then part 3. And then there's 3 parts under part 2, which would be your main,
that's right,
your main magic. They've certainly followed a similar formula. So it's interesting to see basically the same formula right here. You've got in the first 2 sections, roots of the structured entrepreneurial process, the benefits of scarce resources. So, there's probably some myth busting, some other stuff going on in there.
That's right.
And then the actual process is part 2, See, Solve, and Scale, which has 3 parts itself across 8 different little sections.
Yeah.
So
seriously. Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe he wrote it. You never know.
It could be. There's a little crossover there, but
he's written I think he says 80 books that he's ghostwritten. So pretty cool. Pretty cool there.
Yeah. Definitely recommend it. It's if you're looking to really create something out of your expertise. This is a way to go. There's been a ton of writers out there that we've talked about over the years. I think this, Joshua, if you follow him on any of the stuff that he does on any of his other programs, he's got a kind of a unique way of putting things. I think he's a good writer. He's definitely writer.
Got that. Yeah, he's definitely got that copywriting style. Lots of short, choppy sentences and lots of line breaks. Easy to read. Definitely got that going on. So
absolutely.
All right. Well, let's jump into some other things that I've got kind of pulled up. There's a couple others I had that I forgot to mention. I've got so your choice. We can talk the 60-60 rule. We can talk about a 50-year-old study.
I'm curious about the 60-60 rule because in my mind, I'm thinking 60-60 is 120. So my mind is thinking, I've heard of the 80-20, which or this the 70-30, which is all 100, but 60-60 is just not lining up with
the maths are tougher, right? No, you're absolutely on the wrong track. So
totally.
So I found this statistic, and it seems a little high to me. But the specifics of it made it very interesting to me. So I have not personally tested this, so I don't know.
Okay.
By the way, we got a comment coming in from the interwebs. We'll cover that real first. This is a new name. I don't recognize this name. Brent Pritchard. Thanks for covering this topic. Joined a little late, but with a pint in hand. If you didn't discuss already, would love to hear your thoughts on book marketing in a future episode. Love the show. Thank you, Brent. Yes, we have talked. We've actually, if you go back and put the word, if you go to our website, persuasionbythepint.com, and in the search bar in the upper right, put in Shook, SHOOK. There's a couple sessions on short, helpful books from Mike Capuzzi. Yeah, and this will be, obviously, you can go back to the start of this video once it posts as well.
Yeah.
So thanks for listening.
Good question.
And watching, Brent. All right. So the 60 by 60 rule is 60% of buyers will buy an upsell if it's at 60% of the original sales price.
So say that one more. 60% of buyers will buy an upsell if it's 60%.
If it's up to 60% of the original sale. So if I buy something for $100 and you offer me something for 60% of the time, it's going to be taken.
Okay. That makes sense.
I thought that was high on the 60%.
That's a one-time. Is that like a one-time only, right? One-time only upsell, right?
Right. Yeah.
You got to do it at the upsell.
Your good old OTO. But if it's $75, that number goes down, right? So, but I didn't think it would be that high. A lot of times you see upsells are considerably cheaper. Sometimes people try to go up too much, and that's why they get a 20% take, because they'll sell them something for $97 and then try to sell a $200, right? But it's, according to this, the ratio to test and look at is 60% of the original sales price.
Okay.
At least on your first upsell. It didn't really go into like multiple upsells and all that kind of stuff. You don't see a lot of people getting a 60% take rate on the upsell. So that's why it caught my attention as well.
Yeah,
usually you see 20, 30, maybe 40%, but 60% seems pretty high to me.
Yeah.
So that definitely caught my attention there. So if you're selling a, $500 product, then whatever that math is, be 10, 50 times 6. What's that? I don't know what that would be. It's a lot of money. $110. No, I don't know what it would be. Don't do math in public, people.
Keep the numbers even there. That helps.
So 60 by 60 rule.
$1,000, 600, right?
There you go.
So that's interesting because what he's saying is a 60% works better than, you said, better than even a bigger discount, like at 30%.
Not necessarily bigger discount, but I think the way it was written is up to 60%.
Oh, okay. Up to, okay. I thought you said that was like the sweet spot or something where, he tested 40% and it wasn't as good or less than that, because
I
had some thoughts on that in case that was the fact. I mean, but maybe not.
Yeah. I'll have to dive deeper and maybe we can follow up next episode.
I thought maybe like people would assume, you go too low and that people cheapen the offer. Like the offer doesn't feel like it's as good if you're knocking that much off, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
well, I would think that, and I don't know, I will have to dive a little deeper because they said upsell, but we also have order bumps,
right?
Which can be a little bit closer to the original price sometimes. So I don't know. Yeah, I'll do some double checking on that.
Yeah,
we'll bring that up. All right. So
love that. Good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, most people don't even have an upsell. So, in fact, now you've got a formula that you can at least test. Add a second product that's 60% of the cost of the first product, right?
Right.
And what I tell all my clients when they ask about upsells or I critique people, I always tell people, think of an upsell, like think of your order process as a cafeteria.
Yeah.
Your main product is the entree.
Mm-hmm.
Your upsell is one of your sides.
Right.
Don't try to sell 2 entrees. That just confuses people and it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
It makes them feel bad about the first entree. So yeah, think of it as a side or a dessert if you want. All right. So the next thing was there was a 50-year study done around, and it covered 20,000 different types of or 20,000 different presentations.
Okay.
And the difference was what they call a 2-sided presentation or a 1-sided presentation.
Mm-hmm.
So a 2-sided presentation was when people offered something negative about their proposal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they gave both sides of the coin, so to speak. Whereas
Right.
a 1-sided presentation was all glory and good, right?
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before. You got the Achilles heel, do you mention that? Do you not? Those kind of things.
Yeah.
So this is one of the first times I've seen like a definitive study with it that covered that much time
Mm-hmm.
and that many samples, 20,000 plus. And they found out that yes, a 2-sided presentation does close more often than a 1-sided presentation.
Wow.
So find out what your weakness is and make sure you talk about it in your presentations or in your sales letters or
it's interesting.
People,
I think it goes back to that thing. People just love. I think people are more attracted to people that have problems every day.
Yeah.
People don't like perfect individuals.
Well, they don't trust them because they know it's not true. Because they know it's not true.
Right.
That's why they don't trust them, because they're like, hey, there's no way this is perfect. Like, what are you not telling me? Right now, now my whole brain is being taken up trying to figure out what are you not telling me?
I think that's one aspect. I think I think you're absolutely spot on that trust is one aspect, but I also think that people don't relate to a goody two shoes like that have all, seriously, that's what I call it, but it's, let's be saying, you don't reveal any of your, weaknesses or anything like that. People just don't, that's not, it's kind of like the thing that we've talked about in the past and, the whole Marvel versus DC thing, going using a comic book analogy where, people always gravitated to Marvel back in the day because Stan Lee said, I'm going to make superhero characters, but I'm not going to make them perfect. I'm going to make them with problems. They have problems, they're, kids being, teenagers being bullied, Spider-Man, Peter Parker, and to make people have problems paying the rent or paying the bills and just having problems everyday life, in addition to being, also being, a superhero. Whereas DC was like one dimensional. It's like everybody's just perfect. Superman's just like everything. He's like Man of Steel. No one can touch him. He did everything right. It was great and everything, but he's just not a relatable guy.
And you notice they've tried to change that over the years, right?
They did.
Superman had started having problems. Batman is obviously now very tortured. They've gone full 180 on him.
I'm trying to keep up with which Batman you're talking.
Yeah, exactly.
This day and age, so many of them.
But even like the most recent Wonder Woman, which I guess, that was well done. And her, she was very much like Superman, right? Just perfect, all that stuff. But this one, at least she was lonely. That was kind of the thing with her.
Yeah.
So I thought that was they did a good job with that, and that's why it did well.
And so to speak. There's at least one weakness or one aspect of her that.
It's very relatable.
Yeah. Absolutely.
For sure. All right. So here's one for you. Email or face-to-face.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Now, there's actually men or women. So men respond better to one or the other, and women respond. If you're trying to sell something, if you're trying to persuade, whether it's an idea, a product, service, whatever, would you use email for men or women, or would you use face-to-face for men or women? Like match those two, like with the little matches. How would you match it?
You would use face-to-face for women. You would use email for men.
Ding, ding, ding. Very good. Do you know why?
I think my guess is there's an emotional aspect to that.
Yes.
Men are more prone to facts and figures, like give me the content, give me the information. Women are more on the feeling side of it, and they need to be able to relate, or there's a lot of feeling aspects to that. And I would just think that
you're close on the women.
Okay.
So for the women, the face-to-face is more relational. So you're right. So definitely, I'd say relational, not emotional. You'll probably get called out by all the women for saying women are more emotional, more relational. For the men, the reason email is better is because face-to-face men are more, they're more competitive.
Yeah.
They want to outdo you and they want to look better than you if it's face-to-face. So they're going to try to outperform you face-to-face, whereas in email, they don't tend to do that as much.
Yeah. Okay.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
And women like the more relational aspect of face-to-face.
Yep.
So so, if you're online, maybe that means text for men, video for women. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure exactly how that would translate online.
Well, I know in my face-to-face experience, that's always been the case. I mean, that was an easy one for me.
Yeah.
It's just, women are more, it's easier to relate. They like the, like you said, the relationship side. It's easier to relate to them too.
I think they're more intuitive too with body language, everything else.
Exactly.
So they can get a better feel that way.
Yep.
I think that's, and definitely you don't want a text conversation with a woman. That would not work.
No, not especially not in this day and age, but probably any time whatsoever. But I can see that for sure.
So that's the big stuff I had. I have a couple other little things if you're open to it, or we can call it.
Let's do it. No, let's hit them.
So I've been cleaning out my office, been decluttering the whole house lately.
Yeah.
And came across these old cards that had been sitting like in one of these little containers on my desk from, get this, like, I don't know how old these cards are, but they're from Jeffrey Gitomer's The Sales Bible.
Little red book. Yeah.
No, the Sales Bible, which is older than that.
Oh, the Sales Bible. Okay.
So this is from 1994, the cards, like the copyright on them. I don't know when I bought them, but so a lot of them are kind of outdated. Jeffrey Gitomer's a little sleazy, if you ask me.
I know. I've seen some of his videos. He doesn't have the best presentations in the world.
No, he is the definition of a used car salesman, even though he sold new cars.
Yeah.
He would flat out lie to make sales, and he would talk about in his book. He and Tom Hopkins both are not high on my list of salespeople.
No, Tom Hopkins.
But I was going through. I threw out pretty much all the cards except for two. One was effective opening cold call lines, and he had 11 of them. I only liked 5 of them. So I thought the others were too cheesy.
Yeah.
And too manipulative. But this could be, so a lot of these were in person because obviously 94. So you weren't doing a lot of emailing or, internet stuff.
Unless it was dial up.
Yeah. Man, not even the dial up, man. It's like, that was pre Netscape. So these are like, if you're going in person, maybe if you're doing telephone, trying to break through on a telephone cold call.
Yeah. Right.
So the first one was, I need your help.
Okay.
That's a classic. I think that's solid.
That's good. That's attention getter right there.
Yeah.
Is that like is that subject headline or?
That would be, I mean,
Attention.
I think today you could definitely use it as a email subject line.
Okay.
But it could also be if you're trying to literally call a business, like I know you have to do, Jonathan.
Yeah.
And you get the receptionist or whatever they're called
Oh,
today.
Yeah. Yep.
I need your help is a good starter.
Yep.
Granted, they probably heard that a lot, but so this is another one that's fun and I think would get a good reaction. I know you actually run the place, but could I speak to the person who thinks they do?
That's good.
Because that will get the same laugh from that person that, you know, the gatekeeper. So that I thought that one was really good. You could even use that.
That's pretty clever. Yeah, I like that.
You could use that in a piece of mail, you know, a piece of direct mail, because you know they're going to open it first.
Right.
Another one is
that's good. I love
is
that.
the king in? It could also be is the king or queen in? Because you're kind of playing to that person's, you know, the gatekeeper's worldview, right?
Right.
That's how they feel kind of about the person. Even if they respect them and like them, they're like, you know, they kind of, is the king in or is the queen?
The queen. Sometimes you might want to use the queen.
Yeah, you better make sure you know gender
who you're talking to, right?
And then another one. My name is Sean, and you don't know me from a sack of potatoes. You can use any phrase at the end there, but
right.
I actually have a friend, RC, who's been on the show.
Yes.
He uses something similar. He's like, "Hi, my name is RC, and this is a cold call." And right away, it puts people at ease because you're being very upfront about what you're up to, and you know that they know what you're doing, and it kind of creates a level playing ground pretty quick.
Yeah, you're not hiding anything. So,
right.
I mean, it's like
you're not trying to trick anybody.
No.
You know,
your cards are on the table.
Yep. And then this one I thought was pretty good as well, especially if you're like walking into a place or if you're calling a place. Are you in the middle of 100 things or 1,000 things? So these, I mean, they're kind of like just basically little pattern interrupts, right? That's right. It's different than what most people are going to say. Yeah. You're acknowledging kind of you're being light. We've talked about that before, using a little bit of humor, self-deprecating humor.
Right.
You know, it's not so serious. And they know, you know, it's not so serious, which is a great place.
That's good.
I think to start.
Yeah. So, those are great. So I'll add one in that I heard this week, Sean, to that list. From and I can never remember the guy's name, but it's from the Brutal Truth About Selling. He has a podcast and I check it out every now and then. So sorry, I can't remember your name. But he's got one. I thought this was clever. He said, when he makes those calls, or I guess you could use this in email too, but he says, I only have a minute, right? Which I think is actually pretty good to use, because what it says to me is that you're not going to take a lot of this person's time. And it also says at the same sense, you value your own time, right? Like and I think that's important. Like what you're, you know, you valuing, it's kind of a positioning statement, so to speak. If you call somebody and say, I only have a minute, it works two ways for you. You value their time, but it also, you value your time as well. Yep. So I thought that was actually really good, because a lot of people make the mistake calling up, hey, how's it going? You know, they waste people's time. And the last thing people want to do is spend time on the phone, because they get like you said, a million things going, you know, on their plate. So if you use, hey, Sean, I only have a minute, but I just want to let you know, you know, reach out to you and just say, you know, if you're trying to set up a meeting or something like that, or just, you know, talking about, you know, setting up a one-on-one or something like that. Hey, I only have a minute. I'm going to be in the area if it's face-to-face, or I only have a minute. If you're interested, I've got this many spots open. That I'm having a coaching group and thought you might be interested just because of your background and what you're in. You know, you got kind of a similar background to what my audience is, blah, blah, blah. You know, you may be interested, may not, you know, so it's kind of to me, it's like takeaway selling. Yeah. So
you could actually use that in front of these that I mentioned, right? It's like, hey, I only have a minute, but I need your help.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah, that's perfect.
So it's like, it's a double whammy there.
That's a powerful combo.
By the way, Brian Burns is the name of the brutal truth about.
That's right, Brian Burns. Yeah,
Brian Burns. Give credit where credit is due.
Good, thank you. Because I see his stuff pop up on LinkedIn every now and then, and he's got some good stuff. Because he does, I love his little walking videos. I think, man, I should be doing stuff like that,
Yeah.
But he does. He walks around his neighborhood, records a video. Smart. That's another way. Talent stack. He's taking his talent stack right there. Just like the Joshua Lisec, man, he's putting that talent stack together, and probably he's got a book. I don't know. He probably does have a book based out of all that stuff. So
yeah, or he will.
Yep, or will.
Yeah, take all these interviews he's doing and turn it into a book.
That's right. We knew, man. We've got 312, 313 now. So
yeah, we can do it.
A lot of content.
Yeah, that's a good show. Next week we're going to have a guest. I told you about that. So we're going to be talking about, we haven't talked about this much on this show. With 300 episodes, I don't know that we've even covered this. We're going to be talking about SEO as a form of persuasion.
Ooh, SEO and persuasion.
Yeah, so SEO is kind of forgotten, and we're also going to dive into, has AI wrecked persuasion? Like if I look at the way, and so we'll get their opinion on that.
Yeah.
We'll be talking to the CEO of 51 Blocks. She'll be coming on, and then
great.
I think OO as well. So we'll have two guests, but both from the same company to talk a lot of talk about SEO is persuasion. So that should be interesting. It's a little bit longer tail game. A lot of times we talk about stuff that's very quick.
And that's probably why it's been forgotten, because everybody's like jumping on the paid ads, quick instant gratification, where SEO is kind of a long it's like the long game strategy.
And they will be talking, because I've kind of pre-talked to her a little bit. There are some quick things you can do with SEO, and that's kind of the way the market has shifted. So we'll talk a little bit about how you can get some quick wins using SEO principles.
Good.
That's what we'll talk about next episode.
Awesome. Good stuff. And we'll have to revisit the some of the stuff we talked about, the marketing on books. I'd like to revisit maybe on a future episode this book that we briefly mentioned, Seesaw of Scale, and because I find some really good takeaways on that book on how you can create your own consulting training business in a given industry, and how to turn that into a book. So maybe that's a follow-up here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stay tuned. Been fun, man. Sean, any big plans for the big 4th weekend?
No, I think we're just hiding from the heat. So
that sounds good.
We're just going to stay inside, hide from the heat, have some burgers.
No, that's good. I love
that. The older I get, the less I go out and do that kind of stuff. It's just good to just relax and chill.
Just chill. Well, we're going to try to do some camping if the weather stays dry.
Yeah.
For a couple of days.
The lake's too crazy on 4th of July type weekends.
Yeah.
Especially when it's half full like it is right now. So.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, to all of our listeners, hope you have a safe, enjoyable 4th of July weekend. And we'll see you next week on this channel, persuasionbythepint.com. You can find us on all of your platforms, Stitcher Radio, iHeart, Spotify, every platform out there, you name it, YouTube. And you can check our Facebook page out over at facebook.com/persuasionbythepint. And Sean, have a great weekend, man. We'll see all of our listeners. See you all next week.
See ya.
All right.